Well, well, well. See what you make of this. I've just finished doing a video to send to Earthworks and Bose because I realised, became increasingly aware over a period of time, that there seemed to be an incompatibility between the Earthworks mics and the Bose systems, between all the Earthworks mics that I have, and between the Bose L1, the Pro 8, and even my 30 to 40-year-old 802 system. I explain in the video how I came to be aware of this. I couldn't hear a lot of it because my ears are older, but I didn't believe it to begin with. No, it's a fridge or something. Anyway, I thought I'm going to get to the bottom of this, so I set up here to test it so I could get these strange artifacts off, and send the video to Bose and to Earthworks to say what's going on. Luckily, I thought to include a Sennheiser and a Neumann at the end, because up until now it had only been Earthworks mics through a Bose system. Earthworks mics not through a Bose system I've never had any problem with. I haven't used that many systems, but enough. And non-Earthworks mics through the Bose system haven't been a problem either. So it seemed to be these two. What's going on? That's why I wanted to send a video. You may have some ideas if you listen to the end of the video here. I tried the Sennheiser, no problem, as you'll see. But then, with the Neumann KMS 105, we have the sound again. So the question is, basically I'm stuffed. I can't use Earthworks mics with my Bose systems. I've got 3 Bose systems. I'm wondering why. What's going on? I wasn't going to say who's responsible, but there's obviously something's not right. Here, is it Bose? Is it Earthworks and Neumann? Is it something to do with those condenser circuits? I don't know. Maybe you've got some ideas, but it's a little disappointing for me. However, I guess that's life. I have to use Biodynamic M88 with the Bose systems, which is mostly what I use on gigs. And I use my Earthworks mics at school, and if I'm going to a gig where it's a different system, then maybe I have to reinvest somewhere down the line, but it's quite a lot of money to reinvest. Anyway, here's the video. This is the backdrop to it. When I got the L1, I looked forward to using the SR40V. It's switched off at the moment. And I used it on a gig with a keyboard player. And after a while he said, what's that noise? I said, what noise? He said, it's not feedback. He said, it's some high-pitched thing. So I listened. I couldn't hear anything. He mentioned it again. And I couldn't hear anything. I even pulled his leg and said, you're hearing things. It's a fridge or it's something else around, a fan, I don't know what. Anyway, finished the gig. Next gig, same SR40V and the Bose. And he said, there's that noise again. I said, no. But I asked somebody else, younger, my ears are older, and they said, yeah, there's a high-pitched kind of whistling, whining, not really feedback, but it's a bit like feedback. I thought, oh, but I still couldn't hear it. I thought, how can that possibly be? Anyway, I then went on to do a gig in a posh hotel in central London, and I set the Bose L1 up quite some way away. And this time I'd taken with me the SR314. As soon as I switched it on and turned up slightly, very quietly because I'm in a posh restaurant in a hotel, and so I just creeped the volume up. But I didn't even get to creep the volume up for the maitre d' was looking at me and waving his finger. And the guy who was playing piano, whose gig it was, looked at me and said, feedback, feedback, feedback. I couldn't hear it. I said, well, it can't be feedback. This is way over there. And I'm so... Anyway, don't argue. So I had a dynamic mic with me. So I swapped the mics over. Next, there's a workshop I do every summer, and they have a tutors concert, and they decided to live stream. So I had 2 sets of 802s from late 70s, early 80s. The big Series 1 power amplifier, late 70s, early 80s. And the rest, I bought those both second-hand, about 10 years second-hand they were at the time. And the rest I put together out of new components, a new equalizer and a new Spirit Folio desk. And that was in 1993. So we're not talking digital. It's fine. I was with the SR40V. And the sound man comes up to me in the break and says, "What's that noise? Your mic's making a noise." I didn't even bother. I couldn't hear it again through the 802s I was listening. And my friend there, she said, "Yeah, there's something." So I swapped to an M88 dynamic. Next, when I received the SR117, I had a gig and I used the Pro 8, the Bose Pro 8, and the bigger version of this at a gig. Everything seemed fine. So I thought, oh, maybe, don't know. But in the middle of the gig, he said, "There's that sound again. Different mic, different amp." Still, I couldn't hear it. Asked somebody else, yeah. Swapped the mic for a dynamic. And then, recently I was doing something again in the classroom with this and the SR117. And yes, this time I heard something. Now, there seem to be two aspects to this sound. One I can't hear and one that I surely can. I'm going to demonstrate just now. There seems to be, which I'd like you to listen out for. This is an ethos, pointing near enough at it. Listen out for, there seems to be a very high frequency sound, which is quite stable or comes and goes, but it's not the main one. So I'm going to leave that with silence to see if you can pick it up on this. Maybe you can hear it. Maybe I'll be able to hear it later if I boost. I don't know. But there's also one that's rather more obvious that comes up, which everybody can hear. It's very strange as well. So what I'd like to know is there anything I'm doing? I can't see it. I've got a separate phantom power unit, which provides adequate power to power the mics, and that's going into this Bose L1. And as I say, it occurs on the Pro 8, which has its own phantom power, and it occurs on my big old-fashioned 802, which has a desk with phantom power. So we're listening then for a very high-pitched, fairly constant one that I can't hear, and then the more obvious one. So I'll go through. Firstly, with the SR40V, turned down. The mic's now switched on. I'm going to creep the volume up. Creeping the volume up, creeping the volume up. You can start to hear it now. Creeping the volume up, creeping the volume up. We seem to be okay. Well, actually, you know what? So I may have to fiddle with the volumes in post, otherwise it won't, But I'll keep the original file if you require it. Here it is, bringing it up. Then is there anything now? I'm going to get fairly, before that starts doing that, there I can hear just perhaps the beginning of feedback. So I'm just going to be quiet for a while and see if there's any high-pitched sound that wasn't like the one you just heard. Apart from that stuff, I think I can hear something high frequency, but it's very quiet to me, which is why I wouldn't have been able to hear it in a room with other noise. If I turn this up a little bit, as far as I'm going to go, and then we'll change to mics. So now, turning it up just a bit, turning it up just a bit, turning it up just a bit, turning it up just a bit till it gets to the edge of feedback, And there and amongst that is something really high frequency, plus whatever that is. Okay, enough of that. This is the SR314, creeping it up. This is the SR314, creeping it. Don't have to get very far with this one at all. So I'm going to be quiet and see, is there a high-pitched, fairly continuous sound? Not that I can hear, but then we've got this to contend with. And it's not really feeding back. You can hear. Maybe the hint of ring in there. Let me turn it up a bit more. No, it can go some more without feeding back, and some more without feeding back, and some more without feeding back, so you can hear. That's the SR314. SR117. Creeping up, creeping up, creeping up, creeping up, creeping up on the 117, creeping up on the 117, creeping up on the 117. Did I hear something there? This one seems to be less keen on doing it. Creeping up on the 117, creeping up on the 117. No, that's just feedback, ringing back. Creeping up a bit more on the 117. Now this time it seems the 117 isn't. There we go. Creeping up a bit more. 117, 117. Not the feedback, it's obviously something other than feedback. This one doesn't do it as much. But it does do it. Okay. Sennheiser E965. Creeping up the Sennheiser E965, creeping up the Sennheiser E965, creeping up the Sennheiser E965, that's feedback. Creeping up the Sennheiser E965, creeping up the Sennheiser E965 on the edge of feedback now, creeping up the Sennheiser E965, that's feedback. Creeping up the Neumann KMS 105, creeping up the Neumann KMS 105, creeping up the Neumann KMS 105. Feedback is on the edge of creeping up the Neumann KMS 105, creeping up the Neumann KMS 105 a bit more. Well, well, well. Isn't that interesting? Good job I did that. So it would seem that this video should go to Bose. I don't know if I'm going to try the 105 on the Pro 8. I imagine it'll be much the same. I'm going to do it once again with the 105. It's the first time I've heard it with a mic other than Earthworks. So there we are. One more time then. Creeping up the Neumann KMS 105, creeping up the Neumann KMS 105, creeping up the Neumann KMS 105. Was that a bit of it there? Creeping up the Neumann KMS 105, creeping a bit louder, the Neumann KMS 105, Neumann KMS 105, doesn't seem to be as eager to do it, taking it a bit more, up a bit further with the 105, up a bit further with the 105, can I repeat it? It's on the edge of feedback, on the edge of feedback, on the edge of feedback, it's up quite high now. Don't seem to be able to reproduce it, but it definitely happened. Okay. All right then. So, I'm at a loss. It would seem to be the Bose. I'm not going to test it with the 802s, the old pre-digital one, because I have to get it all out and I've had enough, to be honest with you.